What's up, peeps, and welcome back. This isn't asking anything, this is just a random video I wanted to put together based on a session I had with a client around leadership, particularly social leadership. I'm always looking for things that make socializing easier, particularly for introverted people or socially shy people. And one of the biggest weaknesses that people have socializing is that they don't know how to lead. It's what I call Greenlight Syndrome. They're constantly waiting for permission and support and encouragement and guidance and leadership from other people. And when you're like this, it severely limits your options. I mean, you can't get into a romantic relationship if you need the other person to initiate the attraction and the sex. You can't get into a friendship if you're waiting for somebody else to invite you out. You can't get involved in new hobbies until you're waiting for someone to go with you or encourage you to do it. This is all following. Following severely limits you. Following has its place. A great relationship has a lead and follow dynamic with both partners. But what I want to talk about today is a very simple change you can make to the way you speak, to your language, that will instantly transform you into a leader. In fact, it's impossible to not be a leader when you speak this way. And the change is devastatingly simple. No more questions. That's the change. Think of it like a training wheels exercise rather than something you have to permanently do. But essentially, a question is an act of following. When you ask a question, though it might feel like you're leading because you're provoking them to provide information, what you're doing is you're asking them to provide the information, which means they're providing. Okay, they are leading. When you ask someone, hey, what do you want for lunch? They choose what we're having for lunch. If you ask for someone, what do you do for a job? They choose the topic of conversation. What kind of work will be spoken about? Every time you ask a question, you give leadership to the other person. Statements, on the other hand, are a form of leadership. Statements are anything you say that does not end in a question mark. Simply ends with a full stop, with silence. And in terms of putting this into practical use, what I suggest is that the questions you want to ask, you ask them yourself. You ask them to yourself inside your head, and then you answer out loud. This is something I practiced when I was first meeting strangers, and it had a massive effect. So I used to go around meeting strangers to overcome my social anxiety. And one of the things I'd do is I'd ask these questions. And when I first got into it, I was doing that pickup artist thing. I'd actually have set questions that I'd ask in a particular order. What are you doing today? What do you do for fun? Things like that. Now these are all submissive questions. They're all questions where I'm asking them to provide, asking them to lead, even though it looks deceptively like I'm leading. What I found was so much more powerful is that I answer the question that I want to ask, and therefore I provide the lead. So instead of saying to someone like, what are you up to today? I would tell them what I'm up to today, just out of nowhere. So I might think to myself, what am I up to today? Well, I'm walking around meeting strangers. And then I'd say to them, after I've said hi, my name's Daniel, I'd say, I'm just walking around meeting strangers today. Rather than asking them what they're doing. Instead of asking them what they do for a job, I'll tell them what I do for a job, even if they haven't asked. Instead of asking someone what they want to eat, I tell them what I want to eat. I give them the options I'm interested in, and they can choose from those options. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to be stubborn. It doesn't mean I can't debate or work with someone. It just means I initiate. I get the ball rolling. I can be maneuvered. I can be, what would you call it? You can collaborate, the person can work with me to come up with different ideas, but I will start. If you bring this process of no more questions into your life, think of it as try for like a month with no questions in your social interactions that aren't like business related or anything like that. But when you go to speak with someone, make it a rule that you can't ask them anything, you can only tell them things. Now let's say you are genuinely curious about them. So for example, you tell them what you do for a job and they say, oh, that's nice, I am a rock climbing instructor. And you're actually genuinely interested as to what that's like. You could ask, what's it like? Or You can express your interest, which is a statement. You say, wow, I'm so interested in that. I'd love to hear more about that. It's not a question. It's a statement. It's leadership. So that fascinates me. Silence. I'd love to hear more about that. Silence. Not, can you tell me more? Not those questions. Instead of asking someone out, instead of saying, would you like to go on a date with me? Would you like to go for coffee? Would you like to go for dinner? You could say, I'd love to take you out. Silence. I'd love to see you again. Silence. And just let them respond in that silent space. That's leadership. Go out and practice it today and see if it doesn't make you feel like more of a leader. If you want any more support or tips, join up to Brojo University. There's a link down there below. You can check it out. You can get your first month for just $1. And we talk about this kind of stuff and much, much more. And otherwise, I'll see you all next time. Cheers.